8 years, all of this being sold under the label ORS. We'll start with that story and then we turn to Navkaran Singh Bagga, the visionary founder of an atmospheric water system that quite literally pulls water out of thin air. By harnessing humidity, his technology offers a sustainable, decentralized solution to the global water crisis. He's turning innovation into access and air into hope. And finally, the man who changed the way India heals at 92, Dr. Prathap Reddy of Apollo Hospitals, opens up on life, leadership and the future of Indian healthcare. That and much more coming up this morning. Well, when a child suffers from diarrhea or vomiting, the first line of treatment every doctor prescribes is ORS or Oral Rehydration Solution. It's a simple mix of glucose and salts designed to save lives by restoring lost fluids. But what is the ORS really that's being sold in the markets? What if you were told that the ORS we pick up from the store isn't really ORS at all? Across India, a number of packaged drinks were being sold under this label of ORS, most of them packed with sugar, very little salt and almost no electrolytes. Parents in fact thought that they were buying a medicine, and in reality, they were buying flavored sugar water that could make dehydration even worse. Now, after years of complaints and petitions, the Food Safety and Standards Security Authority of India, or the FSSAI, finally stepped in. The regulators banned companies from using the term ORS in any way on any of these drinks that are not medically approved. This has ended a long-standing loophole in food labeling laws and marks India's first clear action against falsely labeled ORS. Now, the push came from Hyderabad-based pediatrician Dr. Sivarajani Santosh. For 8 years, she documented misleading products, raised flags with authorities and kept at it when no one listened. Her emotional video after the FSSAI order went viral, and for good reason. Her fight exposed how easily a medical product can be hijacked by marketing. It forced a national conversation on what we put in the hands of parents and patients alike. A single doctor's persistence led to a change in India's food safety rules. The FSSAI order is now in force across states. Awareness drives in schools is on. Hospitals are carrying out these kind of drives. All of this being planned, and Dr. Sivaranjani calls this just the beginning. So this morning on The Breakfast Club, we're being joined by the doctor herself. She's going to be talking about the very same issue. She was here with us last year as well. Here's a snippet of that conversation first up. Take a look.
Simple. Look at the label. It will be clearly mentioned that it's WHO recommended formula ORS. That will be written on the label. And this permission they don't get from FSSAI. So there is no permission from FSSAI on the label. Only WHO recommended formula ORS, and whatever permission number they get from the CDSCO will be mentioned on the label. So only look for WHO recommended formula ORS.
Okay, joining us now is Dr. Sivaranjani. She is going to be speaking to us 1 year into when we last interacted, the woman whose campaign forced the system to act. Good morning, doctor. Hope you're doing well. Let's start with the big story. We've spoken about this already at the Breakfast Club, but let's revisit that thought, that initiative. What prompted you to run a campaign against sugar-based drinks under the ORS label, being sold under this label since the last so many years? And more importantly, I want to understand if there was a specific incident that triggered this campaign.
No, it wasn't a specific incident. It was an observation that children were getting worse by drinking the so-called ORS liquids when they had diarrhea. Instead of improving, they were actually getting worse and getting hospitalized. For a pediatrician who hardly has any admissions, who hardly hospitalizes kids, that was like an enigma. So I called the parents asked them to show me what they were giving the children, and then to my shock, I realized they were not giving the actual ORS, oral rehydration salt, dispersed in water, which becomes the oral rehydration solution, the WHO recommended formula. They were giving a Tetra Pak with the picture of an apple on it and written as ORSL. ORSL. That time it was from Johnson Johnson Company. Okay, right now they have spun off a company called Kenvue. Right now it comes under Kenvue company. So I realized that that has 10 times more sugar than what is supposed to be in the WHO recommended formula. All this extra sugar will pull out water into the gut and worsens the diarrhea of the child. So these parents were trying to give ORS to the child to save his or her life, but actually this liquid that they were giving was actually worsening the child's diarrhea. And diarrhea kills, especially when it comes to children and when it comes to people with diabetes. Okay, children succumb very easily. Out of 100 deaths in the under 5 age group in India, 13 deaths are due to diarrhea.
Doctor, very interestingly, you spoke of how they're being sold under the ORS label and those fancy pictures of apples and oranges, which of course look better. Parents also think that, with a little bit of flavor, the child will not oppose the idea of taking ORS. Have you had any cases of a child's health deteriorate further by these kind of flavored or sugary ORS drinks? Tell us about your personal experience.
Because they were getting hospitalized only, I started looking into it. Luckily, I didn't face any death because immediately the parent would come to me, right? And we would take care. But what about the rural areas? So many places where they wouldn't even be aware that the death was because of giving these liquids. The death would go down as death due to diarrhea, not as death due to worsening of diarrhea by these liquids.
Yeah.
So it angered me. So at that point, I didn't have any direction. So I thought, okay, I'll raise awareness, and I started making videos. Then some clarity came, and then in 2021, I started writing to the CDSCO saying, how can you allow this? They asked me to send proofs. Then I sent the Tetra Packs of ORS L and rebalance with ORS. I didn't have the Tetra Pack of ORS fit at that time. So they got back to me saying, we didn't give the permission, FSSAI gave the permission. Basically, ORS is a drug. Only CDSCO is allowed to give permission. Like how we have paracetamol, we have amoxicillin, how we have chlorpheniramine, anything. So ORS is a drug. In fact, it is the wonder drug of the 20th century, which has saved millions of lives. You are all aware that late Dr. Dilip Mahalanobis got Padma Vibhushan Award for the same. Okay. And in that country, this was happening. Okay, this was happening, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Unfortunately. So I wrote to FSSAI after multiple to and fro communication. I had to write to the Central Health Minister. Okay. And then finally on 8th April 2022, an order was issued that these companies should not use ORS on their label.
Doctor, in fact, we saw, when that order first came out, we saw visuals, you being teary-eyed, feeling really emotional about the journey, the fight that you fought for the last 7-8 years. And like you rightly corrected, Doctor, conventionally ORS was supposed to be a simple drug type, one drug type, and those sachets on our screens were also indicative of the fact that this is how it was supposed to look. But let's zoom out a little. Doesn't the entry of these sugary products in the market in the first place, how did it all begin? Doesn't it expose the gaps in current food and drug labeling laws that allow this kind of misinformation?
No, this is not just gaps, high level of corruption. Okay, let us say the company was very smart and deceptive enough to go to the FSSAI and get permission. And that FSSAI was not aware that ORS is a drug and that they should not be giving permission to any misbranded liquids or foods. Okay, let us give benefit of doubt. But at least after a pediatrician has written to them with proofs, and after they had issued an order, how can they go back on that order? That not only exposes gaps, it exposes high levels of corruption.
Yes, 100%. You know, the fact that these kind of drugs found their way back into the market, was that a little bit of a setback? How did that make you feel?
Not directly. Not directly. But indirectly, I don't know who it was, but I faced a lot of these fake accounts telling me that, I'm taking, asking me which company is sponsoring me, which company is behind me, and saying like good people get killed in India. Don't you know that people like you will get killed in India? Kind of messages.
So you were not issued any direct threats from any of these big brands, but there were slightly notorious incidents that made you wonder, where is this coming from? Doctor, when you go to a lot of articles that are criticizing you, when you hear of these brands criticizing you, when you've had to fight this in and out for 8 long years, tell us a little bit about moments of dejection, if at all there were any. Did you ask yourself, is this really worth the fight? Was that also a phase in life?
Actually, I never even once considered backing out. I never even once considered backing out. Maybe it felt, little bit, oh my God, kind of feeling. But never even once I thought I should back out, because this is a matter of life for millions of children. And if I back out, I knew nobody would take up, because I had written multiple letters to Indian Academy of Pediatrics for 4 years. I had spoken to them. Some of them at least spoke to me, but most of them ignored me, mocked me, were indifferent to me. So if an association had taken it up, definitely things would have happened faster. But I knew if I gave it up, then nobody would take it up. So I had to persist, and so not even for a microsecond I thought I should give it up.
How lovely. The dedication with which you followed this in and out speaks volumes of how impacted you were by how children were constantly suffering due to taking in these kind of sugary drinks. Dr. Santosh, have you also collaborated with schools, hospitals, community health organizations, and to what extent, and while you were trying to raise awareness parallelly?
So actually, if you remember, I think last year or last to last year, CNN only took my interview.
Yeah.
Where I told you that I train teachers and older kids and many of the parents in first aid and CPR, right? So in each and right now, close to 25,000 people I would have personally trained. I'm not talking about the training I give through media, okay? So in each and every session, I carry these packs and tell them, when your child is dehydrated because of diarrhea, or even if fever, dengue, typhoid, anything, these are not the liquids for rehydrating your child. These are not the liquids for rehydrating yourself. These are the liquids, WHO recommended formula ORS. In India, we have 4 gram sachets and 20 gram sachets. 4 gram sachet has to be dispersed in 200 ml water. 20 gram sachet has to be dispersed in 1 liter water. You can keep this liquid for 24 hours and use it. And even if you want to go for Tetra Pak, you go for WHO recommended formula. Read the label, WHO recommended formula, please. So this awareness I have personally given to all these people, because it's not just about CPR. I talk about first aid for fever. I tell them first aid for choking, seizures, fainting, do's and don'ts, everything.
Dr. Santosh, let's talk a little bit about the earlier setback that you spoke of, that despite relentless fight, these products have in the past found their way back into medical stores. They have been sold again, they have reached households, they have been bought by parents who've then given it to their children while they were dehydrated. Do you fear that this could be reversed again, this order could be reversed again? Because companies do have an option to go to courts, for instance.
See, there was a fear. There was a fear, and in fact, I have expressed it also on social media. And as expected, this company, Kenvue company, which is a spin-off of Johnson & Johnson company, their Indian subsidiary is JNTL. Okay, Kenvue's Indian subsidiary is JNTL. That's the only company. The other companies, the Reddy Labs, the Zydus, they haven't objected. This is the only company which has represented to the Delhi High Court that they should be given an audience with FSSAI to represent themselves.
Yeah.
Okay, because they have 180 crores worth stock in the circulation. So suddenly they cannot give this order. That's what they are saying. And FSSAI surprisingly consented to this. Otherwise, Delhi High Court wouldn't have given the stay. So now, till FSSAI gives audience to these people, listens to their argument and gives its decision, these liquids can still be sold, whichever liquid is in circulation. I don't think beyond that FSSAI will ever take back the order, because now it's not like how it was in April 2022. Now people know.
Yeah.
People know. And I think it has reached the ears of the highest, the leaders, the Central Health Minister Ji and the Prime Minister Ji. I don't think they will allow this to happen anymore. Okay, till now maybe it never reached them. So I'm hoping and I'm praying and I'm sure that the leaders will not let this happen. And even the small hiccup, this 180 crore stock which they want to sell should not be allowed to be sold. And the onus is on the FSSAI for the mess it created. If it had not consented, Delhi High Court may not have given that temporary stay also.
Doctor, you've spoken of how this entire fight began with you finding out what these fake ORS Tetra Packs can do to a child with diarrhea, can worsen their situation further. Is the impact the same when it comes to adults too? That's number one. And number two, can you also explain the difference broadly between a medically formulated ORS and these so-called ORS drinks being sold commercially?
Yes, it's the same for children or adults, but children succumb faster. People with diabetes succumb faster. Okay. Second thing, the main thing is the high sugar, because it worsens the diarrhea. Actual WHO recommended formula ORS, the sodium and dextrose are exactly matched in such a way that they go through the sodium glucose co-transporter and take the water along with them. Okay, so any extra sugar will pull out water into the gut and worsen the diarrhea. And when it comes to sodium and potassium also, the formula is prepared in such a way that it matches the composition of those electrolytes in our plasma, in our body. So these liquids do not have exactly the same formula. Some of them may have more sodium, some of them may have more potassium, or less sodium, less potassium. So they are not compliant with that formula.
Okay, lovely. Doctor, before we let you go, one quick tip for all the parents out there going to medical stores to purchase ORS for themselves, for their children, for their family. Now we're hoping that these sugary drinks are not going to be sold under the ORS label, but just to exercise caution, if a parent sees a drink labeled ORS in a store going forward, tell us about those 3 things they should keep in mind, they should look for to verify its legitimacy.
WHO recommended formula ORS. Read the label. Make sure you know how much water you have to disperse it in. There should not be FSSAI tag on that. There should be only registration number. Okay? And Indian Pharmacopoeia, IP, has to be written. So mainly WHO recommended formula ORS, and FSSAI should not be there on the label.
Thank you so much, Doctor, for clearing the air around this story and for the lovely initiative, the fight you fought for 8 long years. That's once again brought to the fore how public health is of utmost priority. Thank you for joining us here on The Breakfast Club. Coming up next, after a very quick break, we turn to Navkaran Singh Bagga, the visionary founder of an atmospheric water system, quite literally pulls water out of thin air. We'll tell you how this is happening and where this initiative is reached, not just in India, across the world. We'll be right back.
This is News 18 Network. India's largest news network.
Ayushman Singh Jamwal. India's anti-corruption body, the Lokpal, is facing criticism after issuing a tender for 7 BMW 3 Series cars, each worth nearly 70 lakh rupees, totaling close to 5 crore. The tender also includes provisions for training drivers and staff. Now, the Congress party has raised questions pointing out the irony of the Lokpal requesting luxury vehicles when the Supreme Court's judges used modest sedans. Abhishek Manu Singhvi of the Congress party reacted to the controversy, criticizing the move, recalling his role in the Lokpal's creation and calling it a tragic irony, that the anti-corruption body now prioritizes luxury over legitimacy. Jairam Ramesh of the Congress party also called out the Lokpal and their lack of action in holding individuals accountable.
ये लोकपाल नहीं रहा, ये तो शौकपाल हो गया। शौकपाल और शौकपाल दोनों हो गया। 2012-13 में जो अन्ना हजारे, अरविंद केजरीवाल, इंडिया अगेंस्ट करप्शन, आरएसएस ने मनमोहन सिंह जी की सरकार के खिलाफ जो प्रचार किया था, लोकपाल चाहते हैं, लोकपाल होना जरूरी है, लोकपाल के बिना हमारा भविष्य सुरक्षित नहीं रहेगा, लोकपाल 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 का मंत्र जप रहे थे। और आज वो लोकपाल देखिए क्या कर रहा है, 7 BMW खरीदने का टेंडर निकाला है। ये क्या है, मुझे समझ में नहीं आता इन्होंने किया क्यों।
ये खबर सामने आई है कि लोकपाल दफ्तर ने BMW कार के लिए टेंडर निकाला है।
बड़ा आश्चर्य है, मुझे लगता है कि वो महंगी गाड़ियों पर चढ़ करके लोगों का या न्याय तो नहीं मिलेगा ना। तो ये सब अब जनता के डोमेन में है और मुझे लगता है कि जनता मालिक जनता तय करेगी।
Lokpal of India was created to deal with corruption cases, public interest and clean governance. Now this office is in the headline not because of the steps taken related to these 3 things, but it is in the headline because of the tender floated by Lokpal of India. This tender talks about purchase of 7 BMW cars which will cost around 5 crores. Each car will cost around 70 lakh rupees, and various questions have been raised by various political parties, public and experts, that why Lokpal office, which is basically anti-graft body of India, why the top officials of this particular body needs BMW to travel. Importantly, public, every expert and even political parties are questioning that how these BMW, specifically BMW 3 Series car, will help Lokpal in achieving their mission, their aim, and how it will help them in curbing the corruption and the number of cases piled up in their office. Importantly, various top leaders have also tweeted about this story, which was first broken by CNN News 18, and we are outside the Lokpal office. They are on vacation from 18 to 26, we were told, and on 27th it will resume their office, and the office which is on your screen.
Welcome back. Well, every single day we use water like it's endless, but the truth is India is running out of water. While cities like Bengaluru and Chennai hit day zero warnings, one man in Kolkata is literally pulling water out of thin air. Yes, we're talking about Navkaran Singh Bagga. He's the founder of Aqua Atmospheric Water Systems, a startup that's creating clean drinkable water straight from the atmosphere. His machines don't need pipelines, groundwater or plastic bottles, just air, humidity and a bit of science. Aqua's already installed systems across 6 Indian cities and in countries like UAE or Colombia, generating over 100 million litres of water so far. But behind the numbers is a bigger idea that water doesn't always have to come from the ground. Sometimes it has been floating all around us, waiting to be tapped, and that's exactly what's been done by this very firm. So how exactly does air become water? What is the science there? How sustainable is it in the long run? Let's ask Navkaran himself. Good morning, Navkaran. Hope you're doing well. Let's first start with the basics. What inspired you to start AFCO? Because I was reading up a little, you're not from the world of environmental science or engineering. You studied finance and accounting. How did AFCO then happen?
So, growing up, I always was tinkering with a lot of electronics. I would open up my video cassette player. I would, tinker with the computer. I assembled my first computer at the age of 11. But as technologically inclined I was, I don't think the formal education that it requires, I didn't have the dedication to kind of pursue that. But it was always something at the back of my head that I wanted to do. I was lucky enough to be born into a business family, and in the first early years of my career, I got to dabble in a lot of businesses. I ran a hotel, I acquired a steel rolling mill, I ran the export business, but technology was something that always was a void. And in 2016, actually, I had just exited my steel business partially, and I wasn't in control anymore. So I thought this is probably the perfect time to pursue something in technology. And I wanted to do something with regards to sustainability, and water just seemed like a very ignored sector.
Yeah.
And the more research I did and understood that, there are ways to capture humidity from the air to make water, I just thought, I discovered that a way to fix all my childhood dreams and my tinkering habits all at once.
Okay, Navkaran, lovely. So tell us, how did you put that research to work, to implementation? How does your atmospheric water generation technology work? Explain the science, simple science behind it.
Science is actually about class 2 science. It's pretty simplistic, to be honest. I remember in class 2 or 3 we study about condensation.
Yeah.
It's the various forms of water. Water comes in 3 forms: liquid, gas and solid. Now when you say gas, there's humidity all around us in the air. And the way it changes its nature from gas to liquid is when it touches a surface that is cold enough for it to change its form from gas to liquid. You would have noticed on any given day that if you put a cold glass of water outside or a cold bottle of water, automatically, there are water droplets that collect outside. That's the process. Condensation is pretty simplistic. We just figured out how to do that at large scale to be able to capture more and more water from the air around us.
So this small, simple method is being replicated at a huge, large level, large scale, on a large scale. How much Navkaran water can a typical AFCO unit produce in a day? Just so our audience knows what production unit are we looking at? What kind of quantity are we talking about?
So ACO units come in different scales. We have our 50 liter per day systems, 150, 300 and 500. So we can do various modules of different sizes. Our single largest installation is in a big corporate headquarters where we're capturing 30,000 liters of water from air every day.
Okay.
So the scale is not a challenge. We can scale up to as much as we want.
Okay, lovely. And how sustainable is the process of extracting water from air in the long term? Because you're, technically also taking all the humidity away. So what happens then?
So effectively speaking, this question comes up a lot.
Yeah.
A lot of people ask us that if you take the humidity away, what will happen? So the stance here is very simple. We have both a finite and infinite amount of water in the air around us and works on pressure differences. So every time you take some water away from the air, immediately because of low pressure, it gets replenished again from another source nearby. So in terms of renewable, it is actually one of the most renewable things out there, as close to solar. Just like the sun rises every day and you capture solar heat and solar waves to generate electricity, similarly, you can capture humidity in the air for it to get replenished instantly.
And are your machines, are your models solar compatible or capable of running on renewable energy as well?
So we just launched a new product which we did research on for about 18 months. It's called Aqua Helios. That is a 100% solar-based system that works on a slightly different technology to our core traditional technology that we have. That is a system that uses solar heat, desiccants, to basically capture humidity around us. And it's a self-running system which requires no external power whatsoever as compared to the conventional systems that we have.
Okay, let's now talk about the implementation part. So we're looking at 6 cities where your model is being adopted. It's doing really well. How does your system perform in monsoon versus dry season? So your model works based on external factors, humidity being the first most important factor. So all these coastal areas, all cities with high humidity, Mumbai, Chennai, etc., are bound to do well. Your product is bound to do well. What about the rest?
Okay. From our perspective, so I'll run you through parallels. When you talk about renewable technologies are dependent on external factors available in nature or the weather around us, right? Now, ideally, solar power can virtually work anywhere, but would you put it in Scandinavian countries where you have 6 months of no sunlight? You wouldn't, right? Similarly, our technology requires humidity. Therefore, yes, it is more apt to be deployed in areas with higher humidity. So, Chennai, Bangalore, Mumbai, Goa, few places in India that I'm naming. I have a lot of installations in the Middle East. Since all the large cities in the Middle East are actually coastal, whether it's Dubai, Doha, Dammam, Jeddah, Oman, Muscat is also coastal. Also Southeast Asia. So when we look at the spectrum of the area that we can cater to, we flourish more in tropical environments.
Yeah.
But also where energy might be cheaper to weigh off the energy misbalance. So, given the way the current world's population is actually placed, about 50-55% of the world's population lives in tropical climates. And from that perspective, we can virtually cater to a lot of areas. Like we do have systems in South America, we have systems in Africa, we have systems in Southeast Asia, in India and in the Middle East.
Okay, lovely. Have you also been asked, Navkaran, how does your system work when it comes to purification? So that's really not the first most thing that your model is doing. You're actually ensuring that water gets generated. So air turns into water is what your system does. But purification, I'm assuming, is also an important part of it. So how does your system compare to traditional water purification systems in terms of quality and efficiency?
Effectively, and this is actually a very good question because people get confused all the time. What people like to draw parallels with in our case is that to purification systems, but we're actually not a purification system, right? We're an additional source of water. So our comparison should be made with bore wells and rivers and lakes, not really with ROs. The RO is simply a process of purification post collection of water, whether it comes from a tap, whether it comes from a lake or a river or a bore well, right? So our systems are capturing water from the air, and then it goes down to traditional purification system. Now, the purification industry is very old, and we rely on the similar filters that are available in the market to purify the water. We do have some proprietary purification techniques that we do to add higher amount of minerals and make sure the microbes are taken care of. But the idea here is to split up the two techs which we have done. Our primary tech is to capture humidity in the air to generate water. The purification is just post-process. So similar to, let's say, again, drawing parallel with solar panels capture the power that they get from the sun, and then they pass it through various inverters and batteries to deploy it how they seem fit. That's very similar to how we would also look at what we do. We capture the humidity, and then what you can do with the water is pretty simple.
Okay, so capturing humidity, turning it into water, that's the process you follow. There's so much thought that's gone into it, Navkaran, but I do want to ask you, do you think this is still a neglected space? Or have you actually noticed through the last 6-7 years, since you began this initiative, have you noticed a shift in people's mindset?
Unfortunately, as much as I'd like people's mindset to shift, it's not shifting anytime soon. Water is an absolutely ignored commodity.
Yeah.
People don't pay much attention to it because the water cycle is very brief. When I say water cycle, think about why people are working on renewable energy. People are working on renewable energy because they know that every time you take 1 liter of crude oil out from an oil well, it could take thousands of years, sometimes even hundreds of thousands of years to get replenished. In water, the case is it's down to the next rain. So ideally, we don't have a water problem. We have a water management problem. In addition to that, water in countries is not charged at the real cost of that water in terms of transmission, in terms of filtration. So till the time water actually gets charged at the price that it should really be valued at, water is always going to be an ignored sector. Yes, we are seeing more and more companies adopt our systems for the sake of sustainability, but people aren't still doing it because they see that there's a dearth of water. They just take water for granted.
We all take water for granted, and to a large extent, till our, like I began by saying, till our taps start running out. But Navkaran, aqua footprint in India, we're talking about these 6 cities. In India, around the world, you are expanding. How are you looking at expanding further? So tell us a little bit about your future plans, and also going back to the drawing board, did you draw inspiration from other countries who were the first to start talking about this model, start proposing this model to the world? For instance, Israel.
So I think with Israel, it's been more about talk than actual deployments. So no, I don't think we really drew parallels or inspiration from existing tech. Yes, there have been many players who have come and gone in the space. ACO is not the first air-to-water company in the world. It will not be the last air-to-water company in the world. The difference with how we operate vis-a-vis others is that our deployment is moving more and more towards large-scale corporate deployment. We're not trying to sell, single appliance-based products like other people are trying to. Our focus is to do large-scale drinking water deployment across hotels, IT parks, large corporate parks. So we're catering more as a B2B solution provider. Another good thing that we've added to our business model recently over the last 24 months is we have something called Aqua Wow, which is water on want. That's our entire OPEX play, where our clients don't have to buy our machines and have long-term contracts to pay for every liter extracted from the air. Very similar to how solar, rooftop solarization has happened, where people pay for the power generated. Similarly, in our case, we are charging our clients for every liter generated. That's the differentiation in how we're working in terms of our business model. And from a product perspective, our products are really small and deployable on rooftops. So our products are designed to be large-scale rooftop deployments. So when it comes to other players out there, long story short, no, we're very different in technology, in product, and also in our go-to-market.
There are several options that you're offering to your clients, to the consumers. So you've spoken of that in detail, but if you were to put a number to how much of your equipment, your product, your machines have been put to use since its launch, can you give us one? To
be honest, from 2017 to 22 was a very big struggle. In fact, 2020 was supposed to be a great year for us, but then COVID hit and we lost about $1.2 million worth of orders. And then it took us 2 years to kind of re-engineer ourselves, change our product line, change our whole, our ethos on who we are as a company. Are we a solutions company? Are we a product company? Then we decided we're a solutions company. And we have seen a 3 times growth year on year, every year in the last 3 years.
Okay, so the last 3 years essentially have been remarkable. Navkaran, you began with a really small team. So tell us about the growth in terms of numbers since when and how did you first begin? What's the strength that we're looking like or looking at in your team right now, 8 years, 9 years since?
So I started with an initial team of 8 people. Currently we're at 48. We just set up our manufacturing facilities in Chennai. We're actually based out of Kolkata, but we've converted our Kolkata center into our R&D setup, and we've changed our manufacturing team to Chennai. We now have 48 people. And the way we're scaling up now, by the end of this year, we might be about 70 to 72 people.
Lovely. Navkaran, and lastly, before we let you go, let's zoom out a little. How much of a difference you think players like yourself can make to global water crisis?
See, to be very honest, the way I look at it is that for every liter we extract from the air, we save roughly 3 to 4 liters of groundwater. Water that does not have to go down reverse osmosis and have reject water. Water that does not have to go down transmission loss. So from that perspective, every liter extracted from the air is equal to 3 to 4 liters of groundwater saved. The other aspect here is that when we look at urbanization, we're essentially an urban solution. As we get more and more urban users to adopt our systems, then the pressure that the utilities have in terms of supplying water to the major cities will steadily go down. Thereby, they'll be able to use that particular capital availability and take it to places that need more. Tier 2, rural, semi-rural. So the idea here is to be the stopgap. Air to water will never be the entire source of water anywhere in the world. And I can say this as counterproductive as it is to my business. We are a stopgap solution to basically come in and become renewable water and understand that wherever there is a need, we will be there. But the long-term infrastructure play has to be a combination of all technologies in water. That's wastewater treatment, greywater recycling, rainwater harvesting, bore wells, and air to water. Currently, air to water is not recognized as a proper source of water. That's the kind of awareness that we want to create, that people should think that they can also look at our technology as an alternate source of water.
Okay, that's a lot of honesty packed all in one answer. Thank you so much, Navkaran, for sharing your story and for creating magic out of thin air. Thank you for joining us here on The Breakfast Club. We head into a very quick break. With that, we're not done as yet. We'll be right back with a very special conversation. See you in just a bit.
Nominees for the award this year are just simply brilliant. I think it's an assembly line of brilliance.
Incredible. I'm in awe, I'm inspired, and I honestly don't know who to choose.
We had a really tough time to decide. Indians are making it on the global stage, and I believe that whatever happens happens for the best.
We're going to have a really tough time ahead of us to really pick winners.
This is News 18 Network. India's largest news network.
We have breaking news coming in that the Malaysian Prime Minister has confirmed PM Modi will attend ASEAN Summit online. Prime Minister of Malaysia has confirmed receiving a phone call last night from his Indian counterpart, Prime Minister Narendra Modi, to discuss efforts to elevate Malaysia-India relations to a more strategic and comprehensive level. We have CNN News 18 Siddhant Mishra joining us live. Siddhant, what do you think were the strategic or diplomatic factors that influenced into the decision that Prime Minister Modi will not be attending the summit physically, but he'll be doing so online? And I think his deputy, the Foreign Minister, S. Jaishankar, is visiting the summit physically, right?
Well, that's right. We are still awaiting official response, statement from the Indian government. All we know is that from after speaking to people in the government, and in fact, many news agencies are also reporting this, that Prime Minister Modi will skip this year's ASEAN and East Asia summits in Malaysia. In fact, EM S. Jaishankar will be representing India. Now we have this message on social media platform from Prime Minister of Malaysia, Anwar Ibrahim. In fact, he has written a long post about Prime Minister, his conversation with Prime Minister.
Welcome back. We return with this very special conversation with Dr. Prathap Reddy, the visionary founder of Apollo Hospitals. He reflects on 9 decades of life, leadership and healing. At 92, India's most respected doctor speaks about his enduring belief in holistic care. Bridging science and spirituality also opens up in this conversation on Ayurveda, traditional medicine and modern healthcare. Listen in.
As an individual, in your years as you were bringing and building up of the first hospital that you set up of Apollo, there must have been people who said, what are you doing? It's not going to work.
Not only that, in the beginning when I thought of this, I had a successful practice.
Yeah.
Very busy as a cardiologist. When I wanted this to happen, many people, including my own Samandhi, Mr. Oral Reddy, he said, what are you doing? If you want next door, you put up a hospital there. Why are you thinking of all these crazy things? Because none of this was available. Custom duty was 320%. The hospitals were not funded by any institution, and costs are different.
Yeah.
So everything is in Delhi, and Delhi I went first time as a student. Second time I went for this purpose. Yeah. You can imagine. And fortunately for me, one of the general secretaries, Mr. Mupanar from Bihar, I met him on the plane. So he said, come next to me tomorrow morning, we'll take you for Dharma Darshan. So I went in Dharma Darshan. First day, second day, they said, he's so and so. She just passed on. On the fourth day, the RK, the one, he asked, you want to meet her? I said, of course.
Her is Indira Gandhi.
Indira Gandhi. She listened to me for 12 minutes and she was so impressed that something should be done. Immediately she picked up the phone, asked the secretary, Krishan Rao Sahib, you must listen to him and do something about it and do it before this cabinet. So I went to him, he spent more than 2 hours with me. Called the Secretary of Health, Secretary of Finance, Secretary Civil Supplies, for steel, cement, all 4 of them. So I had a meeting with them and they all decided, they recommended, number 1, the custom duty exemption from 320% to 0.
Wow.
And previously, the cement by government was 16%, and on the public it was almost 40 rupees. Steel was the similar. So civil supplies, Prathap Reddy, he granted steel and cement for the first hospital. Like that, but it's not, I'm taking it now in 3 minutes, but I had to make 50 trips.
50 trips.
To see the minister is different. To see the secretary and convince him. Then finally down the line, the undersecretary or, for him, that's where I learnt a little Hindi. But finally, what I am happy, they all understood, saying, I'm not asking for myself. I'm asking to translate the health status of the nation. You know, from a third world country, I'm looking saying my people in India should be able to get the same care that's available anywhere in the world. So this, as I said, some of my friends, even on the day when the president inaugurated, people who were inside, at the end of the function, they said, Dr. Reddy, you are a very clever fellow. You built a beautiful hospital. You're going to turn it into a beautiful 5-star hotel. I said, you're wrong. It's not 5-star. I'm going to make it a 7-star hospital.
Lovely.
And so, by God's grace, I think it's a superstar hospital providing care not only for people here, anywhere in the world. We get an average about 10% of our patients are from 150 countries because they trust us. Like as I told you, on air ambulance, people were unconscious. If they could spend money and trust to come an air ambulance to Apollo, that shows that Indian healthcare today is
the standards
as good
have
as
changed.
Anywhere in the world.
But let me ask you, is it still so tough, so difficult to start a hospital, or have those things become easier?
I think that's very easy now because funding, for first time, the funding was done by Prathap Reddy. I remember how it got done. He told the finance secretary came in. He told him, you are going to show that I am a useless finance minister of India. Why, sir? You know, this concept is very sweet to the Prime Minister. If I don't do it, she will do it. So Malhotra took me by hand to his room and gave me a letter that 4 banks will fund me and foreign exchange I can allow. But that's only for Chennai. But the country's healthcare changed because of the next Prime Minister. He was also the finance minister, Mr. Rajiv Gandhi. He brought in I got a call. He is going to pass your resolution. Do you want to come? I went. I was sitting there, and the act was passed. That act, allowed hospitals to be funded by the institution. And the first institution that's funded by ICICI to my Hyderabad hospital. Even today, for every anniversary, I send a letter to ICICI president. Whoever is the chairman of ICICI, Mr. Bahul was the dynamic man. Then come a super person, and who, the president chairman, continuously I send my thank you on that day, saying that you have one of the persons who helped change the
transform
healthcare
of the nation. How is the current leadership with their side to healthcare? You have met PM Modi also.
All of them are very happy. They come to us. I don't have to go to them. They come to us saying, what can we do? Now, for example, we are now doing 7-8 hospitals. They're all willing to fund it if necessary. I have my internal funds, but I still need the bank funds to enter. 7 hospitals. I'm doing 2 in Delhi. One I did for the exclusively for women. I don't know if you know about it. This is a first of its kind in the world. A first women's cancer hospital with state-of-the-art technology and excellent clinical staff to do the very best for the women. Along with it, I added saying it also does the preventive care for women. So we treat the cancer women for women, plus we look after their wellness.
Oh, wow. There's another argument of traditional medicine, or let's say Ayurveda or forms of medicine versus modern medicine. Do you want to, one tends to talk down the other, talk up the other, there are claims made. What is your understanding? How would you look at modern medicine?
I'll give you a small, first I'll start with saying, today I'm happy it's not Apollo, there are another 300 good hospitals in India. I wrote to our Prime Minister, first I must say I admire the Prime Minister, he's a great Prime Minister. I wrote to him that India today can become global healthcare destination. And I wrote 8 steps how this can happen. And they gave other thing. There's a challenge. There's a shortage of 8 million healthcare doctors, nurses, paramedics in the world. Only India can do this. I called it global workforce. And I said I would like to come and explain this to them with my 4 Shaktis. So a letter went to him. The appointment came. And then my wife said, why 4 daughters, why not me? So my secretary called. They said, please send her also. I'll show you the pictures. But anyway, she also came. But he said, I went through the whole thing. I agree completely. Your concept and your 8 steps will follow. But I want to call it as Heal by India, because way back in 750 BC, Sushruta did the first diagnostic, this one, medical treatment. Until 1250 AD, the world came to India for Ayurveda. And I strongly believe in Ayurveda. We have Apollo Ayurvedic Hospital. We have in Delhi, we have here a beautiful one, small one, 31. And in Oncology Hospital, we have oncology. In Bangalore, we have 3 hospitals. But we are concentrating more and more. I strongly believe there should be an integration of all of these: allopathy, Ayurveda, Unani, homeopathy, all of this, and to see what best the patient can get. Like for example, I have a knee pain. They did a huge surgery and all that. That 50% relief. I called the Ayurvedic people, and my knee is perfect. In 2 days, they put some medicine, the patch, and a little massage, and it became absolutely normal. So I think you should adopt this.
And now we bring to you a special section on financial markets powered by Money Control Pro, Money Control's premium destination for investing in business insights. First up in the markets, GIFT Nifty trends indicate a positive opening for Indian equity indices today. Asian equities were mixed as a volatile session in US stocks weighed on sentiment. US stocks ended marginally down as a bunch of corporate earnings disappointed, and crude oil prices were up in early Asia trade on supply concerns. Going to a few sectors in particular, let's start with footwear. Footwear retailers have been struggling with tepid urban demand boosting measures such as income tax cuts were expected to bring some respite, and GST rate cuts in footwear should accelerate demand from financial year 26. Many frontline players are undertaking network expansion and beefing up their online presence to capture an expected upswing. So don't forget to log in to Money Control Pro to find out more about the footwear sector and other actionable insights on markets powered by Money Control Pro. It's the premier destination for all investing views and financial insights you'll ever need. And well, with that, we come to the end of this edition of the Breakfast Club. Thanks for staying with us and joining us this morning alongside your cup of coffee. We'll see you tomorrow at 8 a.m. Bye-bye.
Icons inspire, but the invincible define an era. Witness the unveiling of India's invincible icons on a stage that crowns greatness. CNN News 18 India of the Year 2025 coming soon. Brought to you by. This is News 18 Network. India's largest news network.
We have breaking news coming in that the Malaysian Prime Minister has confirmed PM Modi will attend ASEAN Summit online. Prime Minister of Malaysia has confirmed receiving a phone call last night from his Indian counterpart, Prime Minister Narendra Modi, to discuss efforts to elevate Malaysia-India relations to a more strategic and comprehensive level. We have CNN News 18 Siddhant Mishra joining us live. Siddhant, what do you think were the strategic or diplomatic factors that influenced into the decision that Prime Minister Modi will not be attending the summit physically, but he'll be doing so online? And I think his deputy, the Foreign Minister, S. Jaishankar, is visiting the summit physically, right?
Well, that's right. We are still awaiting official response, statement from the Indian government. All we know is that from after speaking to people in the government, and in fact many news agencies are also reporting this, that Prime Minister Modi will skip this year's ASEAN and East Asia summits in Malaysia. In fact, EM.S. Jaishankar will be representing India. Now we have this message on social media platform from Prime Minister of Malaysia, Anwar Ibrahim. In fact, he has written a long post about Prime Minister, his conversation with Prime Minister Modi, and Mr. Anwar Ibrahim writes that last night he received a phone call from Prime Minister Narendra Modi to discuss efforts to strengthen the Malaysia-India bilateral relationship to a more strategic and comprehensive level. In fact, Mr. Anwar Ibrahim also writes that India remains as Malaysia's important partners in the field of trade and investment. He also writes that both sides are in touch as far as hosting of 47th ASEAN Summit in Kuala Lumpur is concerned. And in fact, if I go by the version of Mr. Anwar Ibrahim, then he writes, and I quote him, that he informed that he would attend online since the Deepavali festival was still being celebrated in India at that time, unquote. So this is a translated version of Anwar Ibrahim's post on both Facebook and on Instagram. And as I said, that we are still awaiting for official response or a statement from the Indian government.
Right. So, Siddharth, how do you think might the lack of Modi-Trump meeting at the ASEAN will affect coordination between India and US, if at all, on regional security and economic initiatives in the Indo-Pacific region, especially after Trump made all those claims about India's Russian oil purchase?
Well, look, as far as India-US relationship is concerned, perhaps, there has always been a high-level engagement taking place between the two countries. Definitely, the relationship is going through a rough patch. There are a lot of point of contention, which includes the Russian oil purchase, which includes additional 25% tariff, etc., etc.
Good morning and a warm welcome. You're watching CNN News 18 with me, Griha Atul. Let's begin with the headlines. Amid tussle over seat sharing in friendly fights, Mahagathbandhan's joint press conference in Patna today. While Rahul Gandhi is missing in action, poster at press conference venue hints at Tejasvi Yadav as the chief ministerial face for the Mahagathbandhan. Prime Minister Modi to attend the ASEAN summit virtually. External Affairs Minister S. Jaishankar may represent India in Malaysia. United States sanctions 2 Russian oil companies after Moscow holds nuclear drills. Trump repeats claim India will cut Russian oil imports. Despite gag order, Congress leaders speak out of turn. Now Chief Minister's son says Siddaramaya's career at fag end projects Jarkioli as heir. After Sirsa alleges Parali burning ploy on Diwali, Aam Aadmi Party slams BJP, says apologize to the Sikhs of Punjab. Four most wanted gangsters from Sigma gang killed in Delhi encounter. Let's begin with our top focus story, as this is the final day today for withdrawal of nominations in Bihar, and all eyes are currently on the Mahagathbandhan press briefing that is set to take place today. The big question is, will the Congress officially back Tejasvi Yadav as the chief ministerial face of the alliance? Now, sources suggest the talks between Congress emissaries and RJD leadership have narrowed the differences, with friendly fights likely limited to just a few seats now. Congress heavyweight Ashok Gehlot's visit to Patna signals a last-minute push to seal the unity. But with no formal announcement yet, suspense really looms large. Now, will the Congress candidates step aside in favour of the RJD nominees is the big question. Meanwhile, the BJP has mocked the opposition, saying that the parties who cannot form even a good alliance want to form a government in Bihar. And the breaking news update that we are following early this morning at the Mahagathbandhan press conference venue. Posters have only, in fact, shown Tejasvi Yadav. There's no mention of Rahul Gandhi or even the Congress party. BJP has now again mocked the opposition and the unity that they are trying to project. And they have fired a salvo against the Congress party. And they've also said, Congress ka saman chori. This is what they are going with. This is the barb that they are going with. Let me take this across to my colleague Pallavi Ghosh, who's now with us on the broadcast. Pallavi, what does one see from this particular poster that has been put out on the venue, the Mahagathbandhan press conference? No Congress, no Rahul Gandhi. It's only Tejasvi RJD that is shown in the poster.
Yes, I'm just going to give you a look at that poster, which is just right behind me. You can see that large number of chairs there. I think there are 9 chairs which are here, and all representatives of the political parties are going to be sitting right over here. But on the poster, it is very clearly written Mahagathbandhan Press Varta, which means it's the press conference of the Mahagathbandhan, no doubts about that. It also talks about, after showing all the 7 symbols of the constituents, Mahagathbandhan Zindabad. But what is interesting is that it does talk about Bihar Mange Tejasvi Sarkar, Chalo Bihar, Bihar Badle. So basically, what is it that you're getting the messaging out of here with only the picture of Tejasvi Yadav? The press conference is only about Tejasvi Yadav. Clearly, at least the poster projects Tejasvi Yadav as the face of the Mahagathbandhan. If the Mahagathbandhan forms a government over here, it will be a Tejasvi Sarkar. The official announcement, mind you, has not yet been made by the Congress party. The other constituents like the VIP who I just spoke to have said yes, Tejasvi Yadav should be made the CM face officially by the Congress party. So all eyes on the Congress. The posters are conspicuous by the absence of any of the Congress faces. No face of Rahul Gandhi, no face of Ashok Gehlot, none of the state leaders